Thank you for joining us today. This is our presentation on network security. We're going to go ahead and dive right into this. Today's headlines seem to be full of security breaches and things of that nature. These are just some of the things that have come up over the last year. You have your Target breach, your Sony breach. At the Home Depot, there's been just numerous breaches by large Fortune 500 companies. Um, and they have millions of dollars to spend on security. Uh, Kind of the way the old hacking technology used to work is hackers had to be organized. They had to have a central location. They had to build their systems from scratch. They had to have their own servers. It was an expensive proposition to get set up to hack large corporations. Therefore, the targets had to be fairly large. You had to get a large amount of data to make it worth setting all this up. Today, it's a totally different system. You have distributors that put software out for hacking. You can buy it, you can host it, you can lease it. You can specialize. You can specialize in the banking industry. You can specialize in healthcare. So it's a very specialized system now. It's very cheap to get up and start at a couple $100, and you can be on your way to hacking uh, workstations and systems. So therefore, attacking a small target is much more profitable than it used to be. These are just some of the organizations that hackers use. They have job posting sites, so you can go get a job as a hacker. They have ways to get paid, so you can send out your ransomware and they can pay these organizations, and they set up just like a bank account. And these are the different marketplaces. You can go in, buy your software, buy your identities, whatever you need to do can all be done in the hackers marketplace. There's a whole dark internet out there that most people don't know about. Uh, Today's target seems to be increasing in the SMB market. Just from 2011 to 2013, it's been a 20% increase in small business attacks. And a small business is considered anything from 10 employees to 100. And it's 15 times more likely that those small businesses are going to be attacked because it's an easy target. There's not a lot of funding for security, and it typically tends to be off-the-shelf solutions to get their business protected. There's a lot of holes in their security. Uh, so the first stage of attack that most hackers are using is phishing emails, and essentially what this is you'll get an email. It looks like it's from FedEx. It looks totally legitimate. And in here, there's a link that you can click to track your package, and you click it, and now your computer's infected with spyware. Same thing, they do it with utility bills, really anything that's a commonplace email that you would get. A lot of people are expecting packages from UPS, FedEx, their utility companies, so they'll get these emails and just not really read through them. It looks pretty legit, so they'll click on it. And then the spyware is delivered to their workstation. The other form of way to distribute spyware is through advertising. Uh, they call it malvertising. Essentially, what that is, you go out, you buy an exploit kit, you load it up on a legitimate website. So you'll buy ad space on Yahoo, MSN, AOL, and what happens is they'll load that up. You click on the link to view the advertisement, and it redirects you to that exploit site, and now your computer is infected with spyware. It looks a lot like this here. So you'll be on a legitimate site, and you'll see this ad here that looks like it's from Microsoft or Bing. Click on it, and now your computer's infected. This is what a dashboard looks like for a hacker. So what they can do is they can subscribe to this dashboard here, and they can see how many total workstations they have infected. They can tell what operating systems are on, so they know which exploits to use. They can see what exploits they have available and which ones are loaded where, and then they can tell what kind of browser they're using, which also tells them which kind of exploit to use. So the payload, malware payload, why are they doing all this? The main reason is money. They're either taking your data and reselling it. or they're holding your system for ransom, and basically you pay that ransom and they're making money that way. But it all boils down to money. This is a dashboard or a place you can buy identities. So this is all the different places you can click on one of these, like a Bank of America, and you can see the different information. This is for credit cards, and you can choose just by check boxes what kind of information you're looking for. Do you need it with the 3-digit code in the back? Do you want it with addresses, the bank card number, everything that you would need? And you can actually go ahead and just pick the stuff you want, and then usually they run about $2 per identity. So your whole life is basically being sold for $2. And this is how they're getting all this information. This spy eye was the founder of it was actually caught, and he reported that he had a invitation only forum for these black code, and he was charging anywhere from $1,000 to $8,500 per person. He said he had at least 150 clients that were in these forums, and someone named Soldier actually reported making $3.2 million in 2013. He compromised over 10,000 bank accounts just by using this software. These are small businesses with big dollars attached to them. People always think that it's only the big corporations that get hacked, but these are examples of small little SMBs that are being attacked. You have a movie theater. They had $81,000 worth of identity stolen. School district. You have a public library. You have a water district. The list goes on, and you never hear about these in the news because it's not flashy. But all this is being done, and these people are getting away with hundreds of thousands of dollars for maybe a couple $100 investment. But it goes beyond that. There's downtime for your company. You have to report these data thefts, and it's going to be a high impact on your company. You're going to have a reputation that you're going to have to rebuild if you even can, and you're just going to have that trust factor with clients that they're not really sure they're going to want to do business with you because their data has been stolen and it's financially impact them. Another form of spyware is ransomware. You've seen these with the fake FBI warnings, fake antivirus, and the crypto locker. If you haven't seen crypto locker, it's pretty nasty. What it does is if someone clicks on a link in a website or on an email, basically it goes out and encrypts all your files on your workstation and then encrypts anything that is attached to your workstation, like a server or a USB drive. So what this does is it encrypts it, and then they send you instructions and an amount they want you to send them to go ahead and get that encryption key to unlock all your files. Now, people have paid this. Some people get the code, some people don't. Either way, the only way really around this is to have a good backup and avoid clicking on it in the first place. So if you do get this crypto locker, expect to be down depending on the amount of data at least a day. So it is a big deal. The current tools that people are using now are signature-based tools like antivirus, firewalls, intrusion prevention devices, but they're only about 50% effective, and that's being generous. There has to be a known threat for these tools to work. It's like going and getting a flu shot. It only works against known flu viruses or strains of that flu. So if you happen to catch a flu that is not known to medicine, that shot isn't going to do anything. So that's the way the antivirus works too. If it is not a known threat, there's no way for the antivirus to pick it up and it passes right through. Matter of fact, they have a tool. It's just shown right here. It is touting that it bypassed 35 antiviruses in under 3 minutes. And the way they do this is they run it and they test it against all these known antiviruses on the right. And basically, if it comes up that it gets caught by one of these particular antiviruses, they run a tool on it to vary it just a little bit So it'll pass and then it'll come up clean like you see all these in the green, and it'll pass right through your antivirus. So the impact of a data breach is extremely high. People don't think it's going to happen to them, or they don't think it's going to be that big deal. But just in the state of California, the minimum on a data breach penalty is you're going to pay for 1 year worth of credit monitoring per customer. So if you have 1,000 customers at a $30 a pop, you're talking a large amount of money over that 1 year. And and it's just the loss of revenue and reputation is really the biggest problem. They say over 60% of small businesses will go out of business within the first 6 months of a data breach, and it's just the fines, the reputation, all the things that go into having to report a data breach. But the good news is there's new tools available that are going to strengthen your network and go far beyond what antivirus can do. The first is to protect it from your computers and your network from even being infected in the first place. Just don't let it get to your systems. And the way we're going to do that is block sites with exploit kits at the network level. So before it even gets back to your workstation, it's going to be blocked at the front door and not even let that information get back to you. We're going to protect users from phishing campaigns, which is the email breach. And we're going to block malicious links in the web browser and also in email. Part of what we're going to do under containment is, let's say we go into a new network and we load the software in, and it's going to find computers that are phoning home, which is basically computers that are infected with spyware and they're phoning home to a malicious server, either uploading your data or looking for the encryption key to encrypt your files, or your keylogger spyware. There's also a thing called a dropper, which basically calls back to the server, lets it know that the software is loaded, and then they sell that particular dropper to a hacker that can load whatever they want on there. So if they have their own particular brand of spyware that they want to use, they buy a system with a dropper spyware on it, then they can load anything they want onto your computer without you knowing it. That's this dropper software. Also, it's going to block the keylogger. So if you're typing in data, usernames, passwords, it's going to block the data from being uploaded to the hacker server. And then at least you have some kind of alert by seeing these things being uploaded out of your system. There's really no reason for any computer in your workstations, any of your workstations, to be calling out to a server outside your network. And the way we're going to do this is a predictive cloud-based security solution. This is what it's going to look like. We're taking millions of data points per second out in the internet. So we're monitoring all these different computers to see what they're reporting, then taking that information and looking for patterns. And by analyzing those patterns, we can find out which computers and sites and servers are hosting bad links, spyware, and things like that, and then we can block those sites from being reported back to your workstations. And our security suite is really a multi-layered system. Most small businesses use a single pane of glass, and it's usually just an antivirus, and I got antivirus, so I'm protected, but it really isn't. I mean, you saw in the previous slide that it only is up to 50% effective. What we employ is antivirus, DNS filtering, patch management, asset management, and a lot of other tools that we can use to create this multi-layered security. It mitigates your risk, and if you do have a failure in one area, hopefully one of these other tools is going to catch it, or a multitude of these tools are going to catch it. So it gives you a much better chance of detecting a problem or blocking a problem before it is introduced. Part of the problems that people have is, especially in the modern workplace, is you have on-network users and you have off-network users. So your on-network users are going to be the people sitting at their desks, cubicles, um, doing their work on site. Then you have your salespeople or laptop users or mobile users, tablets, things like that that are off network. So you can't put your security on those systems through a firewall or anything like that because they're outside of your office. So these are some of the layers of security that are out there uh, that are being employed that go across both platforms. Email security, you have your spam filtering, so that's blocked at the server level and then dished out to the workstations. Doesn't really matter where they're at. You have endpoint antivirus. This is only effective if you're using a managed antivirus. So one of the things that we employ is a managed antivirus. We can actually go out, check the definitions, run manual scans. We get alerted if there's anything on the system. Just having antivirus on your computer doesn't mean it's doing anything. You have to constantly be looking at it, checking the definitions, make sure they're updated, and if there is a problem, it needs to be addressed, not just click it off because it's the pop-up bubbles bothering you. One of the other things that is employed are firewalls. These are only good for on-premise. Anyone that's outside of the network isn't being protected by that firewall. A lot of issues are people go to Starbucks or they go to an open network, they connect to it with their laptop, and they're unprotected. So what happens is people just sit in these locations and look for computers that have vulnerability and they hack those systems. So if you have a laptop that's connected, maybe the patches are out of date, um, you don't have DNS filtering. There's a whole multitude of things that can be wrong with that laptop. They introduce spyware to it. You bring it back to the home office, plug it into the network, and now you've infected the network. So firewall is really only good for on-premise locations. The big part of what we're introducing is DNS filtering. It's going to block things being brought into your computer and reporting out. So it's going to stop any kind of reporting out no matter where you're at. If you're in a offsite location, you bring something in that already had something loaded on it, it's not going to report back to its host server to give up the information that it's taking from your network. So it really stops them from being able to monetize on your information. And the biggest thing is training and creating policies for your company. If you have a policy that they're only allowed to see certain sites, that's what we can configure the DNS filter to, and training. Train them on the different things that are out there. A lot of what happens is people don't know. They see something, it looks good, they click on it, or it was free on the internet, so they downloaded it because it's something they wanted. There's nothing free on the internet. There's always a cost. If it's free, you're probably the product. They're either mining your data. There's a lot of things that people do for free stuff that it turns out it's not really free. You're giving up something for that free product. Some of the problems that off-network and on-site people have is the tools they're using. It's a lot of it's left up to the user if they're not using the VPN tunnel correctly. If they're using endpoint tools that are detecting attacks after the fact, they're only using antivirus. And if they have stuff on site, they're using like a Barracuda box or something like that. Very expensive. They're very expensive, and if you have it at one site and not another, you're really defeating the purpose. You have to have complete coverage over your entire network, and those things get very costly. So this is what we're an illustration of what we're offering as far as network security goes. We try to block all inbound malware. So anything coming inbound is going to be blocked on any port, on any protocol, to any computer inside the network. With a roaming client, it still gets the same protection. So no matter if you're inside the network or outside, our roaming client can provide that same protection. If there is something that gets past the malware, the antivirus, all the levels of security, it's going to block that outbound traffic that's giving up your data and trying to get those encryption keys to do damage to your computer. So that'll be blocked on the outbound side of it. And then the third part of what we offer is content filtering. So we can actually block content with our DNS filtering. We can do it by categories, specific sites. So if you have a company policy of explicit materials not allowed to be looked at, anything like that, we can actually block it so it can't be used. Shopping is a big thing. We can do it per user base. So if you have someone that does shopping for the company, they go to Staples, they do things like that. We can allow it on that user and block it for everybody else. So those are the things we can do on a user level and really protect your workstations from being inefficient and potential security breaches. These are some of the Fortune 500 companies that are using this technology. Uh, there's These are big names, and they're using the same technology that we're offering to protect your small business. So if there are any other questions and you'd like to know more about our products, please give us a call at 714-705-0008 or our website at www.yourdatatech.com, and you can contact us that way, and we'll go ahead and get you set up or answer any questions you'd have on these products. Thank you very much for your time.